And today we have another odd little video, but it's interesting nevertheless, and that's because you're looking at a Telly TV, and this is a completely free TV. It costs nothing to own this TV. Now, full disclosure, I am not affiliated with Telly in any way, and Telly doesn't even have a clue that I am producing this video. I have been following the Telly company for a while, and I thought it was a really clever idea to be able to give somebody a free TV in exchange for something, and that is the elephant in the room we're going to talk about right now and get it out of the way before we talk about some of the features on this TV. Obviously, Telly is not just giving out free TVs and losing money. They have to generate money somehow to keep the company afloat. The main way Telly makes money is actually by this commercial down here in the bottom right corner of the screen. They're going to advertise on this space. They're going to sell it to advertisers or other companies that need to advertise, and they are generating income that pays for the equipment and also pays for the wages and support that Telly needs to survive. And like any other major TV company today producing smart TVs, Telly is also taking your viewing analytics, putting that into a database and selling that off as well. A lot of people don't realize this, but on your standard smart TV, they are sometimes collecting that data, sending it back home. That data gets parsed and they send that out to the broadcasters, the people that make movies, the people that make shows. The analytics go to commercials, and this data helps generate more spamming for you. So Telly isn't the first to do this, but to my knowledge, they seem to be the first to letting you know that they're doing this. So I appreciate their open and honesty about how they are generating money. And as if there wasn't one big giant elephant in the room, there's a few more. There is a microphone built into the remote, but we've seen this before because the Rokus also have a microphone built into the remote. There is a camera located in the soundbar, and that camera does have a physical cover over the top of it, so even if Telly could turn it on, it's not going to spy on you with that cover over the lens. Telly claims this camera is only used during apps that require it, such as the Zoom, because the TV does have Zoom built into it. It does have some gaming applications that use it, and it also has a fitness app that uses the camera. I suppose if you were really worried about the camera, you could just put a piece of tape over the hole, but again, there is a physical cover on that lens even right now. And there are some motion sensors at the top of the TV, and this also is mainly used for the games and some other apps like the fitness app. It's pretty cool. We'll talk about that in a bit, but this is something I haven't seen any smart TV doing yet, is Telly does use these motion sensors to determine how many people are watching a movie or how many people are in front of the TV. So it's not a camera, it's just kind of a motion sensor, and they're probably using some algorithm to say, a couple of people are watching this movie, and again, they're going to put that in a database and sell that off, because if a movie has 4 or 5 people sitting in front of it, then it's probably a good movie, and they can send this off to the people that make movies so they can make more movies like said movie. So very quickly to clarify this, Telly is gathering your viewing analytics and they are sending that back to a database. They are probably going to parse that out and sell it to make some income. That isn't exactly abnormal with today's smart TVs, but what is abnormal is they are going to send commercials to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. This is probably where their bread and butter is in the advertisement revenue they are getting from this area here. Now that the elephant has left the room, we'll talk about the hardware some, and I will tell you that the quality of the TV on top is outstanding. It is exceptionally clear and it is 4K. There is also a sound bar in between the two screens, and this sound bar sounds phenomenal. I cannot believe a free TV has this good of sound. I expected the quality of this to be garbage, but to my surprise, this appears to be a really good TV with some really high quality components. There is a screen across the bottom, as you can see, and this is what makes Telly a little bit different. And I was also surprised that this doesn't operate anything like any of the smart TVs that I currently own or have owned in the past. Telly's interface and built-in software is relatively simple to the consumer, meaning my view of everything going on with this TV is really not that complicated. It has a very simple remote. As you can see, the two screens operate independently on the screen. If you want to work the bottom screen, you press this button here. The remote will now operate the bottom screen. If you want to operate the main screen, you press this button here, and now the remote will operate the main screen. When navigating, you're going to spend most of your time on the bottom screen. You're also going to see a lot of information on this bottom screen, and that is because it has widgets that you configure yourself for information that you would like to see throughout the day. On mine, I very quickly grabbed a few items just so we could see how it works. We have the weather and a couple of news sources that I just very quickly picked. And at any given time, whatever you're watching, you can just come down here to this little bar and you can read about some of the current events or news that's going on. Once you dial into each of these items, like this is from a place called Tech Radar, if we press the center button on our remote, we will get a little more information. And if we really wanted to know a whole lot about what was going on here, we could click it again and it'll bring it up to the top part of the TV, and we can actually browse out and get that data and read as much information about that item as we want to. Most of the widgets down here in this bar seem to operate like that. Once you highlight the widget and you click the center button, it'll give you more information, and you can just keep kind of drilling down into that information until you get what you need. The second screen on the bottom is also going to serve as sort of a navigation screen. It allows you to move around within the TV and select what you want to do or what you want to see. And this TV does have multiple inputs. It has an HDMI 1, a 2, and a 3. Now we are currently temporarily set up in a workshop, so we're just doing this for this video. Eventually I will wall mount this TV, but for now we're in the workshop, and you can see that HDMI 2 is plugged into a Roku, because that is what I like to use, is a Roku. The TV also has a built-in TV tuner, so if you want to plug this TV into an external antenna or even an indoor antenna, it will pull those channels in if that's how you like to watch TV. You can see there are 3 music apps built in. There is a game room, and some of those games are controlled with the remote, and some of those games are controlled with motion and camera. Again, that is where the camera comes into play, and that is where this motion sensor really shines. It has zoom built into it, and again, it's going to use the built-in camera. There is also a fitness app built into the TV, and I have to admit I'm really impressed with it. It uses a combination of the camera and the motion sensor to make sure you are correctly doing the correct positions for various exercises. Telly does include a free Android TV. It is 4K, since that top screen is 4K, and you can use this to view pretty much anything that you would normally stream online. But Telly also doesn't care if you use whatever device that you have already. Now I use a Roku, and so I am going to use Roku on this TV, and Telly's okay with that. They don't really care. So now that we've been discussing inputs, let's take a look at the back of the TV and see what inputs and outputs we have available to us. We have 2 USB connections. We have an Ethernet connection. We have HDMI 1 through HDMI 3. There is also a digital and an analog audio output, and as you can also see, there is that antenna input at the bottom. On the back side of the Telly TV, there is some ambient lighting. These are LEDs that wrap all around the outside of the TV, and they give you that really cool ambient glow from behind the TV. And located on the right side of the TV is a physical power button and physical volume controls. And something to take note of is, because there is 2 screens, you can turn this off 2 different ways. If you quickly press the power button, it will turn just the top screen off, and this bottom ticker bar will stay on, but it'll also keep rotating these commercials. Whereas if you hold the power button down, it will turn both displays off. I had my assistant try out some of these games, and he really enjoyed them. As you can see, he really enjoyed the augmented reality games that was using the camera and the motion sensors. Some of these games are very clever and, quite frankly, quite addicting, as you can tell by his reactions. I also had him try out some of the other games that were just using the remote to control, and he really enjoyed those as well. Some of these games were classic games with Atari labels, some of them are a little bit newer. And some of the games were also on the bottom screen, which I think was very cool, because you could potentially watch a movie and have somebody else play a game at the same time. I think this is where this bottom screen really shines, when you can multitask with it. So what are my final thoughts of the Telly TV? Well, I don't think it's a bad option. I think if you want a TV and you really don't want to spend the money for a good, decent TV, and you're willing to put up with a few commercials, specifically in the bottom right corner of the Telly, then I think it's okay. As far as mining and collecting your data, well, most smart TVs are already doing that. In fact, today, most consumer goods are already doing that. We're reading articles where cars are collecting your data. We're reading articles where your phone is collecting your data. And to be frank, Telly is the only company that has openly admitted that they are collecting this data. So if you don't mind that, I think it's a great option. The hardware is really good, the soundbar is really good, and the included set of games that they have currently on the TV, and I'm sure they're going to continue to add more, well, they're quite entertaining for what they are. I like the fact that that bottom bar is a kind of a news ticker bar. It kind of keeps you updated at a quick glance, and I also like the fact that the TV has a fitness app, something that I myself should probably use. If you like these types of videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. Take a look at some of my other videos. At the very least, you might be entertained.